Go back and forth between notes and the audience. So let's start with notes.
Okay, what learning is there for developed nations from developing nations out of donor-recipient relationship? Does health promotion recognise this distinction? Does health promotion recognise this distinction between developed and developing?
Okay. That's just a couple of your notes. You have more.
I've got more.
Good.
But who is the community? There is an assumption that all members of the community share the same values. What about competing interests? One more. Community is not always right. There are different voices within the community, and you may be listening to the dominant one. As both an academic and an activist, I feel those two identities are in opposition, which makes me despair both for activism and academia. How do we reconcile this? Do we want to? And last one, health promotion is not about health. It is about equity, education, and rights. Health is the result of action to change own society with and for people.
Okay, we'll hold off there. We'll come back to the notes. These are very articulate notes. So whatever you're doing, keep doing this. Sorry, yes.
I want to go back to the original idea. And health promotion can mean different things to different people. And I think that the important thing is that we have a diverse array of perspectives, settings, difference between people doing intervention and people doing research. And within the research field, there are many different perspectives. So what I have seen here is many people within health promotion concerned about social justice, housing development. So it's mainly the area because we won't be able to find for a monolithic health promotion, I think. That's again.
Thank you. Everyone's got his notes. No? Yes, sir. Way in the back, standing first.
Yeah, I was picturing, but apparently it doesn't work. But what I said was that community-led health promotion affects the power of the professionals, and are we ready to accept that?
Okay, thank you.
I think everything's a social movement, and health promotion has to work with what's there, has to fit in its messages, but it also has to keep its messages. It can't flip and flop, just jumping onto every bandwagon it sees. So the promotion of health, which we've heard is lots of different things, has to have a core message to it.
Thank you. Back to notes.
Okay. I have concerns when we call for simple solutions when our problems are complex. For example, in countries like Mozambique, where HIV/AIDS prevention campaigns are largely funded through a neoliberalist lens that try and deal with this complex problem with a simple behaviour approach, ABC. We know it doesn't work. Therefore, how do we get funders committed and invested in working on complex problems when all they want to do is simple solutions?
That note was a little too long.
What can we learn from research, including action research? As health promotion is, and excuse me because I'm having trouble reading this one, something historically from social movements, let's acknowledge more clearly that methods developed by these social movements. Let's acknowledge the methods by these social movements. Successful social movements like HIV/AIDS are distinguished by creative application. Social movements read their audiences. They know when to embarrass, bully, and discredit when necessary. They also know when to seduce, convince, and inspire, but they never sell out their constituents to satisfy them, the money.
That wins the award for the most poetic. So back to the audience.
Sorry to speak a second time, but
that's okay as long as you keep it short.
So right on this point, what we can learn from social movements, the last point, I would say social movements are by nature messy and noisy and multiplicity of voices. And I want to say that we can and must learn from social movements in how we have our meetings. So this session has, for me, been probably the most dynamic session at the conference.
Yeah.
We need to stop organizing traditional meetings that do not reflect the dynamics of the social movements we want to be a part of, particularly in voice at the front of the room and in participation like this. So congratulations to you as the moderator.
I'll go back to once, very briefly, yes. Brief.
Those are the social movements we hear about. Resistance, doing nothing, is also a social movement.
Okay, keep going this way, to the quiet side of the room, the contemplative side of the room, yes.
A learning from the children's movement, which is a movement for and with children underpinned by the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And that is that one of the international priorities is to end violence against children. And I think there's two reasons for that. One is that violence is a violation of children's well-being and of their rights. The second is it's also a very strategic choice, because in liberating children from violence, in that process, we change the social status of children, and therefore make an enormous difference in other ways to the well-being and rights of children.
Thank you. Do we have more notes? Any more notes? Gary?
More notes. It's not
No?
the
We have a
answer.
comment over here that says, is the social movement always against the status quo? And this person says
Okay,
no.
that was at Twitter or an SMS?
That was a Twitter.
And no more notes?
No more notes for
No
now.
more notes, start writing, people. Okay, here.
Say that going right back to basics and right back to communication. And one of the most inspiring sessions I had was a poster presentation in Spanish time, when I know one of your colleagues showed me the Aboriginal poster that had come from the women themselves and how they represented health. And it was a very moving space, and I know there was more than one person there looking at that. And that was going right back to basics, looking at how we communicate, how we look at what those messages of communication say.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to throw out a few thoughts. That from what I heard is that, for example, it's true, I think that people have to vision, first of all, what they want in society. I agree with you totally. But then by doing human rights education, it's really critical, because a lot of people in our classes, the women in our village, when we went there first, they thought, if we could even get them to say anything at all, they would not speak out. They would never have been able to speak out. And if you take any one of those women today, and they would stand up and tell you what they think about everybody. And that is because they learned they have the right to speak out, to give ideas. They have the right to help. They didn't know this. And so by doing human rights education, it just changes the whole equation, I believe. And someone said communities, are they always right? By coming to consensus in the community around a new set of values and a new set of social norms, people generally then have these same values, and they go out when they have inter-village meetings and they stand up when others say, no, we need to oppress women. And the others stand up and say, wait a minute, what is a human being? What does this mean? Everyone has the right to human dignity. That means that all women should stand up to. You have voices that counteract those other ideas. So somebody asked, is what comes first, human rights? And I'd say that this is critical. It's what I've seen over the past, since we started human rights in 1995, an amazing movement, not just for health, but for equity, for democracy, for many environments, for many, many things.
Thank you. Now we all know how the play works, so let's move on.